Welcome back to Holistic Moms. I'm your host, Shan. In the last episode, we talked about not being anxious, but feeling it. So go listen if you have not yet to episode 109. But that brings us into this episode today of not just thinking we are how we are, but realizing we are constantly in a state of becoming. We won't be until glory. That's our destination. And until then, we are pursuing and becoming and going up the mountain to a more well version of ourselves. In fact, that's what my coaching is all about. It's about constantly being in a state of pursuing wellness and finding the area and the tools and the strategies and the specific baby steps that you can take in your busy, overwhelming, stressed out life to continue moving forward up the mountain. Does that sound hard? Yeah, it is. It's really hard work. And that's why I come alongside of you as an accountability coach to help you take every baby step along the way, because there's times when life comes at us and we don't know how to keep going up. We don't know how to keep moving forward in the face of fear. And it takes courage, and we need a hand to help us take that courage, to encourage us to take that next step. That's what I do, and I would love to do it with you. Go right now to theshanwright.com/coaching, and you can learn all about my coaching offer and what I have for you and how you can team up with me and go up the mountain together. Okay? I would be so honored and excited to do that with you. Back to today, we have to not get stuck in this is the way it is, but get curious about the feelings. Don't just feel shame as in, oh, I blew up again and I don't know why I feel this way all the time and why I do that all the time and have this guilt and shame. No, but ask questions of why do I react that way? What is happening with my heart? What am I feeling? And dig into those answers to become, to continue becoming who God has you to be. Today, we will talk about common triggers that lead us to anxiety and how we can use tools to combat these triggers, not just be in them, but to know that they are there and start becoming, walking in the way of Jesus. You ready? Let's go. Hey mama, are you stressed by the lack of time in the day to do all the things? Are you feeling disconnected from God, your husband, and even your kids because patience and presence seem out of reach? Do you want a healthier body, mind, spirit, and home, but overwhelmed in where to start? Hey, I'm Shan Wright, daughter of the King, wife, mom to 4, RN, wellness coach, and I know very well what it feels like to want to live well, but about to lose it with my very blessed, full life. After realizing I can't pour from an empty cup, I tracked my way to whole body wellness and so much peace. If you are ready to cancel the stressed out life, learn tactical, intentional strategies as a mom wearing many hats, find more peace, confidence, and joy raising kingdom kids, then listen in. Come on, mama, together we got this. Really, God's got this. So go heat up that coffee again and turn your listening ears on. Let's chat. So I have a story to get us started today. I am long-winded when it comes to stories, so I'm going to try to make this short. But this story completely relates to what we're talking about today, as I know this is a trigger of my husband and my daughter. And we got to see very real how they were triggered and what we did to combat it and the tools that we used. So I'm going to share in this example how we were able to combat it, and then I'm going to go into whether this is a common trigger for you and how you can. So we were going to church. My son, my 7-year-old son, and my 9-year-old daughter were both signed up to be baptized on this particular Sunday morning. And so we were getting ready for church. Of course, we were running a little behind, and that's how it is on a Sunday. We were off schedule because typically my husband goes early and serves, and I am left with the kids to get them ready, and we drive separately. But because of the baptism, we were all going together. And so that just threw us off just enough to where you just know how those mornings go, right? Like if something gets thrown off, then the time disappears. And that's how we were. So my husband ended up taking the 3 kids and I was left with the little guy. And so we drove separately in the van, and church is across the street. But there's a windy neighborhood that we drive through to get across the street. So it's all across one road, but we drive through the neighborhood just like 3 minutes and then cross the street. And I'm driving through, and within that time, my 4-year-old says, my tummy hurts. Well, you know how it is. You're rushing. I have so much on my mind. My 2 kids are getting baptized, and I'm just like, okay, buddy, we'll deal with it. Once we get there, hopefully it stops once we park, So we get to church and we go inside, and I'm like, do you want to come sit with mommy and daddy in the service? Because you can watch Ruthie and Theo get baptized. And so he did. And so he comes in the service with us. And when I get there, though, it's a craziness because we did not know the kids had a change before. They didn't even get to go into part of their Sunday school. They just had to go right into the main service with us. And they had to put these clothes on that were like 3-5 times the size of them, like massive sizes for these little kids. So they couldn't even keep these clothes on their bodies. And we're like, well, that won't work while they sit in for 30 minutes of a service. So let's just keep their regular clothes on and we'll change it last second. But we're figuring all this out, right? Service has already started. Worship's already going on, and we're missing it. And we're not getting in the mood for the baptism, like the actual thing that we're there to do, right? And then there's grandparents that came to support and to encourage. So they're there. Basically, anxiety is high. It's very high, especially for my husband who was dealing with the kids getting changed and all of that while I was still driving the other one. We're sitting down for maybe 3 minutes, and the 4-year-old who told me his tummy hurt on the way over is sitting on my husband's lap, and then just it comes out. Like just a little bit. So then the vomit, just a little bit. So I'm like, okay. So I run to the bathroom, right? I'm thinking I can just grab some paper towels. So while I'm searching for paper towels everywhere, I run back to the seat and he's not there. But there's like vomit on the carpet leading to our seats. Thankfully, we were sitting in the balcony, but this is a big church, big sanctuary, but also it's small enough that this was a commotion. And I'm like wiping up some that's on the carpet, and then I run back out and I'm like, well, where is he? Find him in the bathroom with vomit all over the 4-year-old and my husband, like head to toe all over, like the most I've ever seen come out of a little child before. Okay. Thing you need to know is that getting sick or having one of our kids being sick is one of my husband's major triggers when it comes to anxiety. Also, my 9-year-old daughter who is getting baptized. So when she's still in the sanctuary at this moment, but she is really trying her hardest to pull it together, but it's coming, right? She is just starting to cry, starting to have a panic attack, really. I mean, I'm sure she was already nervous going into baptism. So she is having she's having this moment in the sanctuary with my mother-in-law. And then I'm in the bathroom changing all the clothes, figuring out all the clothes. My husband, I'm like, do you want me to go grab you clothes from the house because we live so close? As we're dealing with all of it, he's like, should we just go? Like, should we just leave? Like, and I was like, no. I know this is exactly what the enemy is doing. And I said, no, this is what makes you anxious. This is what makes our daughter anxious. We are not going to say, okay, we give up and throw our hands in the air. We can figure this out. And so I said, no. I prayed and then walk out. I got him baptism clothes. So now my husband is in baptism clothes. His clothes are in a big bag. Needless to say, I had tons of laundry afterwards, and someone kindly cleaned up the carpet in the sanctuary, and everything was fine, except I went into the sanctuary. We're all cleaned up, and my daughter's walking out. She's like, nope, can't do this. Nope. And like in that moment, the pastor says, okay, if you are ready to be baptized today, we're going to count on the count of 3. We're going to send you off. 1, 2, and she's in this frozen moment, this fight, flight, freeze moment. And she's like freaking out. And I had to sit there and push her towards, because I knew that's what she wanted to do. Here's my other son, my 7-year-old. He's like bouncing up and down for joy. He's so excited. So that helped too. And I like, this is it. We got to go. So we start walking towards the pastor. She's crying. We get back and she has not changed yet into her clothes. So we go in the little changing room. There's no one else in there. And I'm like, this is the enemy, because he knows this is how he can get you. So we say not today. We say not right now. And we bind the spirit of anxiety. We lose peace and joy and love, because this is an amazing thing you're about to do. And so she prayed, I prayed, and in that moment, I saw it just wash over her. Literally, I saw the spirit of anxiety go. I saw it flee, and I saw peace come over her. I'm about to cry, because it was so emotional, and it was a really amazing moment where you could see presence of God come over her, the peace of God come over her, and she walked out and got baptized with boldness and courage. And it was like the best day. So as I have tears in my eyes, that's what you need to do. You need to realize your trigger, realize that we have an enemy, and we're fighting against the enemy, not against flesh and blood. We're fighting against the enemy, and we are saying, no, I'm not doing this. I'm not letting you get me down. I'm going to stand up and fight this fear, and I'm going to move forward in the face of fear. So yes, that story leads us into this episode, because I want us to have that boldness and that courage in the mundane, in the normal day, in those big moments, but also in the everyday when we seem to lose it, and say, no, I'm not letting this trigger get me. No more. I'm going to use this tool, and I'm going to fight back. Okay. So that's why we're going to talk about this today. It's going to be super practical. I want to let you know, I am reading this book called Triggers. I have had Wendy speak and Amberlia both on the podcast, episode 40 and episode 60. They co-authored this book called Triggers, and the subtitle is Exchanging Parents' Angry Reactions for Gentle Biblical Responses. We talked all about it, particularly in Wendy's episode. But it's like a 10-year-old book, and they've done a re-release of like encouraging people to get their hands on it. I don't know all that it entails, but I am partnered with them to get the message out there. So I'm sharing it daily on my Facebook feed, which you can find the link for my Facebook in the show notes, because, there's probably a million Shan Wrights on Facebook, but you can also find my picture, and the link is in the show notes. But in this book, they talk about that we have external triggers and internal triggers, and we are responsible as a human, as a child of God, as a parent who is raising our kids to be kingdom kids. We are responsible for our reactions, actions, responses, our words. We are responsible. And yes, there's things that happen, but we have to know how to gently, biblically respond. We have to get curious about what sets us off to not do that. And when our words fall out of line, what set us off? So that we can learn not to do that again the next time. And it might take a few times of practice. That's okay. But what brings up these emotions? What causes us to snap? What causes anxiety? And ask questions of yourself. We need to ask questions of ourselves. What is causing this? We need to ask questions of our heart. What is inside? Now, our triggers are different, and I'm going to go through 5 common ones, but you might not have these. So the book actually shares 31 triggers, so you can grab the book. And what we're going to talk about right now, today, and this rest of this time, is 5 internal anxiety triggers. So these are ones that you are responsible for, because you can actually get to the bottom of them and find out how you can heal from them. And then you're still going to have stuff come at you externally, but you can deal with your insides. You can deal with your heart and mind better than anyone else can. So I'm going to give you 5 common triggers and the tools you can use to whip out in the moment. Okay, number 1 is caring for the sick or being sick. When your child is sick, anything with illness, or this could be, you have someone that you're caring for that has a chronic illness, okay? So just like my story with my daughter, illness triggers her anxiety and my husband's. For me, being a nurse, it doesn't. It's not my trigger. Thank goodness, because we need someone else to help when the child is sick. But from Sissy Goff, who is a child therapist, I understand this to be a very common trigger amongst kids that battle anxiety. And for us as adults, moms, it can be so taxing emotionally, physically, and that it brings us to that exhaustion level of stress. Or we are literally worried sick of what will happen with our kids' health. Okay, so perhaps you're familiar with the story of Lazarus and Jesus in the Bible, and Jesus healed Lazarus and raised him from the dead, but he actually waited 2 days. And Mary and Martha were so distraught and confused. And Lord, we knew if you were here, you would have saved him. And they are so upset. But this is what Wendy says when she talks about this chapter in the book. She said, would we rather that Jesus heal us quickly, heal our loved ones, and allow us to move on in our lives without additional pain and suffering? Yes, we would. But oftentimes he waits because he has a plan that's not our plan. But his plan is always for the greatest soul harvest. We have to know that his thoughts are way higher than our thoughts. His plan is way greater than our plan. Even though it doesn't look that way, it doesn't make sense to us. And so the tool for this trigger is to meditate on this verse. Isaiah 55, 8-9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. That is from God saying that his thoughts and his ways are so higher. They're so much better. And so meditate on that verse in the hard times, when the illness is coming, when the illness is there, when it doesn't go away, and you're just confused and distraught. And this leads to anxiety and triggers and being stressed out, okay? Or maybe you just need a hot shower or a self-care treatment or a long walk alone. Maybe another tool like that would be helpful in the moment. But meditate on this verse, because when we meditate on truth, it changes our hearts. Okay, number 2 is transitions. This is big for me, okay? This is being sad that the party has ended. Like, I get anxiety when the fun comes to an end. End of my vacation, end of the party, end of dinner, end of church even. Anything that's good, when it ends, I get a little panicky. I get a little unsettled inside. And my husband is baffled how we can always be the last to leave a place, a party, a get-together, a dinner. He's like, how are we always the last to leave? And being an introvert, maybe that's a trigger for him because for me, I want to stay longer. And so it has caused tension and conflict in our marriage especially in the beginning, because it was like, don't you want to go? We've been here long enough. And I'm like, no, the fun can never end. And so I've learned how to handle this in times. I'm still working on this as it is a trigger. And so a tool that we can use, if you are like me, a tool we can use is to plan ahead and have a warning time. So I don't even look at the time when I'm out and having fun and at a party, a dinner, whatever. So maybe I need to start looking at the time in order to have a warning time. But before you go to the fun thing, before you have the nice dinner, before whatever, plan how long you plan to stay And because think about what's going to happen after you get home. Like, why are you leaving? You want to get in bed because you know you have an early thing that you need to get up for, and you know that feeling of when you don't get enough sleep. Or simply, if it's dinner and you're like so excited for the dinner, this is me. Plan the yummy dinner. I'm so excited to eat it. I'm so excited to sit down with all the family and just, I imagine a fun, peaceful dinner, enjoying the good food. And I'm like, when this ends, which sometimes, we have 4 kids. Sometimes it lasts 5 minutes and the kids are up running around and you're like, sit down. But plan a walk after dinner. That way it's the next thing to look forward to. And when they're not interested in the food and you have enjoyed your yummy meal, you can all go on a walk together. And that is another fun thing you can do together. So I'm still working on this. I'm still working on how to not be so triggered by things ending and transitioning to the next thing, because this goes deep. I might do a whole episode on this, but for right now, that's where I'm going to leave you. Number 3 is exhaustion. I've gone over the 6 types of exhaustion or tiredness in episode 103. And so if this is a trigger for you, which I don't think it cannot be a trigger for any of us because we're human. So we all get tired to a point. And so we must recognize when we are headed toward exhaustion and to whip out our tool for defense. Okay, Wendy says, when we are tired, we must dig deeper, speak slower, think more carefully, and move about more gently than ever before, because we are so much more prone to lash out in our weariness. Okay? That's a really great quote, and that's true, right? We're so more prone to lash out, so we need to be aware when we're headed in that direction. The tool, I gave all the different types of tools for all the different types of exhaustion in that episode 103, so you got to go check that out. Okay, number 4 is time, running late. Yes, this is a trigger for a lot of us, and the thing is, which I've said plenty of times on plenty of episodes, is we have enough time for all God has for us to do today, each day. Sometimes it's a matter of, not having this trigger go off. It's a matter of waking up earlier or planning time better, or other times it's kids and all their needs, and you can't even plan it because out of the blue, suddenly it takes an hour to get ready and the day before it was 15 minutes. Or sometimes it's preparing all your stuff in a timely manner so that you can help the kids with their stuff with patience. Sometimes we have said yes to way too many things and we need to take something off the plate. So go listen to episode 51. I actually have a lot of episodes on this, but episode 51 talks specifically about time triggers. And a tool that you can use, though, is a belief card statement to say out loud, I have enough time for all God has for me to do today. All right. Number 5 is a messy home and clutter. And we just addressed this in 2 interview conversations with Christina, episode 108, and Jenna, episode 105. Listen to those for your tools. But if a messy home and clutter is a trigger, which again, I think it is for most of us, then think how you can make it a trigger happen less often, how you can take it out of the equation, possibly with less stuff. If we are pursuing wellness like Jesus, because he is the way, the truth, and the life, John 14:6, then I think we need to look at how Jesus lived and what were his ways. And this can get our mind off of stuff and onto hearts and what really matters. Okay, so to recap quickly, number 1, a common trigger is caring for the sick or being sick. And so your tool would be to meditate on scripture. Number 2, a common trigger is transitions and going from one thing to the next. And a tool for that would be plan ahead and have a warning time. The fun is almost over, 5 more minutes. And then number 3 is exhaustion. Head to episode 103 when you will hear all the 6 types and the plenty of tools that go with them. Number 4 is running late. And the tool is say the belief card out loud. I have enough time for all that God has for me to do today. And number 5 is a messy home and clutter, because this messes our lives. And so we need to listen to episode 108 and 105 to be inspired how to get rid of clutter, to declutter our hearts, minds, and our homes to live more like Jesus. And there is still time to join us in this trigger study that I have joined up with Amber Leah and Wendy Speak In. It goes Monday through Friday. Daily on my Facebook feed is a scripture, a study excerpt from the book, and questions to discuss. And you can join us in doing that. So I also have a discussion chat going on for the discussion questions. So this is going to help us really reflect on these triggers that are happening internally and externally. And there's obviously, I said 31 in there, so you might not have these, you might have those. It's an amazing book and study. So again, it's called Triggers. You can buy it anywhere you buy books, and would love for you to join us over on Facebook in discussion about that. And as always, join us in Holistic Moms Facebook group so that we can also discuss our common triggers in there. And that is bit.ly/holistic hacks. I pray this has been encouraging to you today, and practical, and you can use these tools in our common daily triggers of our mundane, stressed life, so that we are no longer stressed, but living in peace every day. I pray 1 Thessalonians 5:23-24 over you. Now may the God of peace himself sanctify you through and through, and may your whole spirit, soul, and body be kept blameless at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. The one who calls you is faithful, and he will do it. Shalom, shalom. Hey, Wellness Warrior. I pray that blessed you. And if so, it would bless me big if you would write a 5-star review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Not only would this make me super happy, but it will allow for others to find this show too. Also, I love to chat over on Instagram, so make sure to take a screenshot, share to your Instagram stories, and tag me at the Shan Right, so I can see it and we can keep chatting and bring other moms to chat with us. Until we get to chat again, mama friend, may the Lord's face shine upon you and give you peace.